Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Insight NFL podcast. And tonight, I know I said last week it was a great week seeing Mav's face here, but we are just absolutely blessed tonight being joined by Mav and also DFAB. It's been a while having all three of us together, but it just feels right. You know, I've got slippers on, I've got a trackie on, I've got a jumper on. We're into winter, but this, just seeing us three here on screen, this just feels even better. So I'll start off with you, DFAB. How you been, mate?
Yeah,
and most importantly,
good, mate.
I asked Mav last week. You know, how's your rookie drafts going? Have you been in the trenches since you were last on?
Been doing a ton of mocks, mate. I'm doing good. I apologize. I haven't been around too much. I've been flat out with the whole real life work thing, which we all love to do. But life's good, mate. Life's good. Spending way too much time. Starting to put some work in, as we all are, on our little, I guess, draft assistant that we're starting to get things going on. So life is still all NFL at the moment. I've only done one rookie draft, but I've been doing a ton of mocks. So, mate, it's we're getting close. I can feel it. Less than 100 days now. We are getting close.
Mav, how about you, mate?
Yeah, fantastic, mate. It's like the three amigos, really. I'm trying to think of like a WWE term for it. I was thinking of like Evolution, but that's four guys. But yeah, I was going with the three amigos. So
go FDI, mate. You can be Nunzio.
It's good to be. It's all good to be back here as us three. It's always good content when we all come in together and talk a bit of football and the G-gens that we are.
We're all D-gens, loud and proud. And to you guys, accurate insight, 84 days, gents, to the NFL season start. But who's counting?
So much better.
Who is counting?
So good.
But we'll jump in. We've got a little bit of news given off what we had last week. There wasn't too much there, but we've had some exciting things that have happened in the fantasy community. Starting off, finally, we don't have to mention this guy's name anymore about when or whether he will. Aaron Rodgers finally agreeing to terms with the Steelers, signed a 1-year deal worth $13.5 million. I think it's worth up to nearly $20 million in incentives, if he hits MVP and they get to the playoffs and everything like that. But guys, how are we feeling about Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers? Mav, I'll start with you.
It was always going to happen. It was going to happen pre-draft. It was going to happen mid-draft. And it was always going to happen post-draft. He was just being a bit of a drama queen, sitting there wanting the attention seeking that he's just an attention seeker, really. So, look, they got it done. Mason Rudolph was not the answer at QB for him. I don't even know if Aaron Rodgers is the answer for him either, to be honest. But he's an upgrade over Mason Rudolph. And you probably need to give DK Metcalf at least an option if you're paying him that much and trading for him in the offseason. At least give him an option to be productive in his first year at the Steelers. But all in all, it's just a bit of a, if I had to put a grade on it, it'd be about just a C.
Yeah. Lukewarm. DFAB, how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, pretty much the same. It feels like a really nothing trade. It's just, I guess adding another year to the rebuild for Pitt. I like it a lot for like Roman Wilson dynasty owners. I feel like he has the potential of being a really solid check down guy. I know that there's some hype starting to build around him with how good he is out of the slot. And we know that if him and Aaron Rodgers get some sort of chemistry through training camp and OTAs and stuff like that, that it's going to give Roman Wilson a big chance because, as we all know, Aaron Rodgers will always like tunnel vision towards his guy. The targets are always there. So it's exciting a little bit. But yeah, in terms of real life, it's probably a C-. Fantasy, it might boost the outlook for guys like DK and Roman Wilson and even Jalen Warren for those checkdowns, but it's not really moving the needle too much.
Yeah, and it's really shaping up to be Rodgers' last year in the NFL. Very team-friendly deal, which was good to see. They've got to pay TJ Watt a whole heap of cash, so freeing up a bit more space for him. But in terms of other news, Nick Chubb signed to the Texans, joining Mixon and rookie 4th-round pick Woody Marks in the backfield there. DFAB, I'll start with you this time, mate. How do you feel about Nick Chubb at the Texans?
They had to do something. I think we all saw at the back end of last year, Joe Mixon start to, really slow down. Don't think he can handle the workload. So I think it's not that Joe Mixon's I don't think Joe Mixon's going to have too much regression because he's still going to get the line share, I think, until Nick Chubb can prove that he's healthy. I don't think Woody Marks was really going to move the needle too much, not to reuse the same thing that I just said, but it's a good one. It's something to watch. I think he might become a late round flyer, especially in redraft leagues, just purely for the potential of what could be if he's able to actually bounce back with his health. I like the landing spot though. I like it a lot. They rely heavily on the run to help set up the play action for CJ Stroud and getting it to those wide receivers. So that's definitely a good spot for Nick Chubb. I'm excited for him.
Mav, mate, any thoughts?
Oh, I can't even. I don't even have a half Chubb over it, to be honest with you, mate. I've got Woody Marcus sitting there. They've taken him. They trade up to get him, and then they've gone and get Nick Chubb. Like Joe Mixon's getting on in age a little bit now too. Nick Chubb is probably a 1-year deal, and then they got Woody Marks. So it's a bit of a crowded house. Look, you'd expect Joe Mixon to take majority of the carries, and then maybe Chubb gets the goal line carries. So that's not great if that's the case with Mixon. And it's not really great for Nick Chubb either, because I don't think he'll be that productive. He's had a beast of an off season, obviously workout wise, but I don't know, for fantasy, it just, there's no one there that I'm like, oh shit, I need that guy in the Texans backfield. It's a bit murky for me.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a more NFL, improvement move compared to fantasy. I mean, they were running the likes of Cam Akers and Damian Pierce when Mixon went down last year, so definitely an upgrade over those.
Rest in peace, Damian Pierce.
Yeah, gone.
Yeah, he's done. He's done.
Absolutely gone. One to watch, and hopefully Nick Chubb's just so loved in the NFL community. So if he can do anything this year, it'll be a good send off for the big man. But our last piece of news and another running back signing, and we'll start with our resident Broncos fan here with this one, because there's a lot of different takes I've been seeing on this. And J.K. Dobbins signs a 1-year deal with the Broncos. It's a little deal on paper. I think it was 2.75 mil. Guaranteed, and it could be up to 5 mil worth of incentives. But he joins that backfield with Audric Estime, Jaleel McLaughlin, and also their second-round pick in RJ Harvey. So, DFAB, how does this kind of sit for you, being the absolute RJ Harvey lover? What are your thoughts?
Real life, I love it for the Broncos. I think it's clear that they're planning on bringing along RJ Harvey with the right support, not just throwing him in with a lion's share straight away, allowing J.K. Dobbins, bring someone in that's been a quite productive change of pace guy in the NFL, someone that's able to score, someone that's kind of knows the system, is going to help be a really good mentor for him. From a fantasy standpoint, it sucks. It's going to cap it, especially early in the year. He's going to be more than likely to timeshare. It's probably more like a 60-40 split, I think, to start the year with JK and RJ Harvey. It wouldn't surprise me if JK was the guy to start the year. So it definitely makes the waters a bit murkier, but real life, I love it. I love the play real life wise. So
yeah, I think all in all, it definitely does hurt his value, but could be a good fit. We've seen in Sean Payton's offense, he loves to run 2 running backs, and in terms of fantasy, they always produce year in and year out. I mean, Javonte Williams, he was a scrub last year, and he still had some fantasy value. Mav, I'll grab a take from you too, mate. How you feel about JK?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised that he took this long to sign, to be honest. He had a pretty good year last year. So, I mean, he got $2 million, $3 million in his contract. Probably has incentives in that too. But yeah, all in all, it's got timeshare written all over it. Look, they probably do prefer using rookie running backs early on. So that's probably the only positive that I've got for RJ Harvey. But, Estime, rest in peace, Estime as well. Unfortunately, McLaughlin's probably the change of pace, third down back. So he's got a role. But yeah, it's an interesting one. It's one to keep an eye on. If you had like really high hopes for RJ Harvey, they've probably sort of, I don't know, leveled out a little bit now. So if you take it in like late first round, you'd be thinking shit. In your rookie drafts, you'd be thinking shit. I don't know. Do I prefer Cam Scatterbo now? It's an interesting one, but we'll let it play out through training camp and see what happens. I still have high hopes to RJ Harvey, but as DFAB said, it has timeshare written all over it.
Yeah. But hey, at least the Broncos, the best run blocking O-line in the league last year, so they definitely have support there. Could definitely support 2 weapons. I think it could be a sneaky year for J.K. Dobbins. If he had 12 or 13 touchdowns in the Chargers offense last year, could be a double-digit guy if he gets that role moving into 2025.
Yeah, great.
But progressing after the news, we're straight into our show for this week. So following our last week's show, we had our top value picks of each round based off current sleeper ADP. If you haven't seen that yet, the link is in the YouTube section below for you to go back and catch that one. Going to completely flip the script from the positive aura that we had last weekend. We are just going down in the dumps. We're getting down and nasty. Our worst picks in the trenches. Our worst picks from each round. We're going to be running off the same format based on Superflex, PPR leagues, tight end premium. Same thing, running through the round by round ADP and kind of just identifying the worst values from each. Before we jump in, and I'll start with you, DFAB. When it comes to identifying a worst value, what do you kind of look for in these players?
Honestly, the first thing I always look for is who's being hyped up at the moment. Because normally whenever there's a narrative for improvement or someone finishes the year strong, they're almost overvalued the following year. And they're the guys. It's not to say that they're going to have bad years, but typically I think that there's the potential to start slow, and they're the guys that you can try to get at later. That and people that had big workloads, and you'll notice in a couple of the picks that I've made, they're very much against the standard narrative, but they're the two main things I look for. If someone finished previous year strong and the hype piece is about them taking a step forward and all that kind of stuff, normally I find that people start drafting them at their ceiling. And then, people that have come off good years but have had, a considerably larger workload than what they typically have had throughout their career. There's normally regression there.
Mav, what do you look for, mate?
Yeah, age is one thing for me too. So, if they're heading towards age 30 and they're overvalued and in current ADPs is one for mine. Regression will come at some point. Mike Evans might be the outlier. But outside of that, especially in older running backs, it does hit hard. And situation, I think, is very important too. Who plays at QB, for wide receivers is obviously a big thing. And competition around themselves, like, competition targets and carries if you're a running back as well is also very important. So, if it's a crowded house, then again, it's a bit more of an unknown.
Yeah, and I think with those takes that both you guys have, we're definitely going to be bringing them to light as we go through our picks
Absolutely.
For this show. We'll jump straight in. I'll flick us over and pull this up on the screen. So here we are, same thing as again, Draft Sharks. These guys just compile the sleeper ADP into a nice format for us to talk about. So starting off with round one, Superflex, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jamar Chase, Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, Bijan Robinson, Jalen Hurts, Jameer Gibbs, Saquon Barkley, Brock Bowers, and CD Lamb to round out the first round. DFAB, mate, we'll start with you. And probably the most controversial pick, I'd probably say.
Yeah, I think so.
And one of our models on our thumbnail tonight. Who do you got?
Yeah, Saquon Barkley. As we all know, I'm not afraid to say something that might, shake up the apple cart a little bit. But yeah, Saquon Barkley is my guy. So the key points, as we just spoke about, he had a massive workload last season. Over 300 rushing attempts, over 2,000 yards. Had a phenomenal year. Realistically, could have broken the all-time record for rushing yards in a year. My biggest concern is he's going to be 29 by the time next season ends. So he's really starting to get towards that cliff that we know all running backs seem to fall off. It's the 300 carry mark that really gets me. And I did some research. Don't mind me with my notebook here. So over the last 10 years, there's been 10 players that have rushed at least 300 times. Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry's done it 3 times. Nick Chubb, Najee Harris, Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, Le'Veon Bell, LeGarrette Blount, and Adrian Peterson. All big names, guys that have been absolute studs in fantasy. Of those guys, 8 of those 10 missed out on the top 12 the following year, and 4 of those 10 fell outside the top 24. Some of them was via injury. Some of it was just via their production fell through the floor. But there's a very clear pattern, especially over the last 10 years, that if you have a massive workload, you start to drop off. I'm not saying Saquon's going to shit the bed, but I don't think there's any way he's going to perform at the same level that he did last year. Jalen Hurts is a touchdown vulture. He definitely would have broken records if he didn't. But yeah, Saquon, he gives me a worry. And if I had the 101, I wouldn't be picking him in redraft, at least.
Yeah, I love that take. And when I was looking at this list as well for myself, Saquon would have been the guy for me. Yeah, just he had an historic season, best season of his career by a mile. For him to repeat that, I think we're just hoping, we're wishful thinking, we're trying to buy into last year's production, and that can't always be the case. And I know with the 300 rushing attempts stat that you're bringing out, that's counting out the playoffs, and he had such a heavy workload during those playoffs and leading up to the Super Bowl, of course. They just didn't really stop there for Saquon. But Mav, what do you think, mate, in this first round and with Saquon?
Mate, yeah, it's a good take there from DFAB. But he may have cake in his face at the end of the year when Saquon goes off. But look, it's always hard when you look at this top 12 here. I mean, it's so stacked, right? There's not one player here that you go, shit, I don't want them. I mean, of course, you want every single player in this top 12. But it's also very hard. I'm looking at Jaden Daniels for me. I know it's a big, bold take, but Jaden Daniels there at 3, 4. Depending on what pick you've got. Second year blues in the NFL at rookie at the QB position is a big, big thing. Doesn't happen very often. I mean, you saw CJ Stroud last year. He was meant to be like the next king QB after that first year, right? And I don't think he finished in the top 12 or 15 QBs last year. He had a horrendous year, albeit the offensive line was pretty crap, but he was pretty crap himself too. So, Jaden Daniels, yes, has a rushing upside, and yes, he does have rushing TDs, but he's going to have a lot of tape now, and they're going to scheme around him too. So, look, I expect him to still have a really good year, but top 3 might be a bit of a stretch. Top 4 might be a bit of a stretch as well. So we'll see how he goes, but I'm expecting a lot of defenses to clamp down on him now, and he's going to have to use his arm a lot more. And look, he was great last year with his arm, but he's going to have to rely on it more this year than his legs, I reckon. Lamar Jackson might be the outlier in this one. He can't really defend him in terms of what he can do on the ground and through the air. He can sort of do it all, albeit he's never been successful in the postseason. But I just feel as though Jaden Daniels is going to be tested this year.
Yeah, and at this price, this is definitely at his ceiling. I mean, looking at this, I'd be okay with this ADP if it was a dynasty, but for a redraft, it's only been 1 year. There's no real consistency behind it. To have him this high, definitely an overvalue. No, I can agree with that. But we'll jump into the second round here, just because I know for me, I was very in lockstep with DFAB with Saquon there. That's just that was in my eyes. But for the second round, Malik Neighbors, Ashton Genty, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Patty Mahomes, Puka Nacua, Brian Thomas Jr., Trey McBride, Nico Collins, Devon Achane, Drake London, Derrick Henry, and Christian McCaffrey. I'll jump on this one first. And for me, it's Patty Mahomes. I just think looking at the quarterbacks, at this stage of the draft, I'm more than happy just to punt it until the next round or even round 4. I think there's much better values than what Patty Mahomes is. He's been pretty bad for the last couple of years, throwing in the mid-20s for touchdowns. His yardage has been low. He's had the lowest ADOT of his career when it comes to passing attempts. And, I just think Travis Kelce, he could really fall off a cliff this year, and that was his safety blanket. Rashee Rice, the injury, this is the looming suspension, which is lining up to not be this year, which is just, how does that even happen? We saw last year with the Chiefs, they don't need to win in shootouts with Patty Mahomes. They can play with defense and just run the ball and be tough. So I think in the second round, Patty Mahomes at QB, and just looking at it, I'd much rather have Bo Nix. You can get him around after that. Or even in the fourth round, you can get the guys like Drake May and Caleb Williams, who I think will definitely finish higher than Patty Mahomes this upcoming year. But leading on, DFAB, who do you have in the second round, mate?
If anyone's listened to me since the very start of this season, they'd know that this man's teammate is top of my list for guys that I like. So because of that, Puka Nacua is probably the person I'm most hesitant to draft out of that second round. I literally wrote in my notes, Devontae Adams, lol. Like, that's the main reason why I think DA is going to be the guy. And I think he showed with the impact he had on Garrett Wilson after he arrived at the Jets, he took the stranglehold on the 1A at New York, despite it being a mid-season trade. I think Devontae Adams is really going to shock some people. And if I was around last week, Devontae Adams would have been my biggest value. The main thing is that Puka's touchdown upside isn't really there for me. He's never had a season over 6 touchdowns, whereas DA, eight of his 9 last seasons, despite being now on his 3rd team, has had 8 or more, 6 of those 10 plus. I just don't think Nakua's game style lends itself to touchdown upside, and with that, I don't think picking him inside the top 24 players overall is a good pick. He worries me a little bit at that price.
Yeah, and just following up from last week's show, we had Devontae Adams as a huge value. I think even for the both of us, Mav, in the in the 6th round, like if you wanted a piece of this offense, and if you think Puka and Devontae are going to have similar seasons, why would you take Puka in the 2nd when you can get Devontae in the 6th? That's just no brainer, really. You want to play the values really, and if you can get someone a whole 4 rounds differently, get a you could get Devon Achane or Trey McBride in the 2nd round and kind of build your team out a different way in that regard. Love the take there, DFAB. And Mav, what about you, mate?
Mate, I actually was on your side. I had Patty Mahomes as well. For me, it was just a no-brainer. At what is he, 15 on the board there, is he? 16 on the board?
16.
I mean, that's mid-2nd round, my man. So, look, in 2023, he finishes a QB 8. In 2024, he finishes a QB 11. So, 2 years in a row, he's got worse. I mean, albeit he finishes a QB 1 in 2022. But that's a massive drop-off going from QB 1 to QB 8 to QB 11. So, look, if we're ever really, as you said about Kelsey, yes, he's getting older, so we got some concerns about him. We got concerns about their run game. As Isaiah Pacheco, I think he's great value personally, but again, he's a bit of an unknown. Does he bounce back? Does he not? I expect he would, but again, still a bit of an unknown coming into 2025. They got Rashee Rice. Yeah, as you said, looming suspension coming. Off a knee injury, might I add too. So concerns there. Xavier Worthy, I'm not convinced. They really couldn't sort of draw up some plays for him. He seemed like a bit of a gadget sort of guy. The jury is out on Xavier Worthy. Sky Moore, irrelevant. Hollywood Brown, always injured. And, Travis Kelce, old as balls. So this is getting older and older and older at Kansas City. It's going to be you can't be good for so long. I mean, Brady was probably the exception, again, if we're going to go down that path. Mahomes, they're trying to compare him to Brady to a degree, but he isn't Brady. So I would be shocked if they made the Super Bowl next year. Look, they're still pretty good, don't get me wrong, but I expect them to probably be a playoff team and probably lose early in the playoffs. I don't think they're that good, unless Patty Mahomes steps up and goes back to his nuclear ability. But he's now turning 30, so age is sort of starting to catch up on him, my friend.
Yeah, and at this ADP, it's QB6 overall. So you're drafting him well and truly above his ceiling, what has been over the last couple of years. Like you said, 2023 QB8 and last year QB11. Yeah, QB6 here. It's all name value in my eyes.
He really could finish between QB8 and QB11, and it could happen.
Yeah, for sure. But we'll jump into the 3rd round. Moving down the list now. Lad McConkey, Bucky Irving, Bo Nix, AJ Brown, Jonathan Taylor, Justin Herbert, Josh Jacobs, Marvin Harrison Jr., Jackson Smith in Jigba, Baker Mayfield, Garrett Wilson, and Breece Hall. So looking at this 3rd round, gents, this one was a little bit tough for me, so I might be a little bit of a coward and flick this one over to DFAB to start us off with. Round 3, mate.
Yeah, that's fine. For me, it's Bucky Irving. Now, don't hear what I'm not saying. I don't think he's going to have a bad year, but this is the guy that, again, I alluded to at the beginning of the show, where I talk about someone that finished the back end of last year on fire, and the hype is through the roof. Like right now, from my account, he's being drafted in this mock draft as the RB7, despite finishing last year as the RB14 in half PPR. He's in his year last year, he had over 60% of the snaps only twice. Only once past week 6 was only once. I don't think that Rashad White, Rashad White's definitely the second fiddle, but I don't think he's suddenly going to disappear. There's still a pass-heavy offense. Rashad White is still arguably the better pass catcher. Of course, Bucky Irving's capable, but I don't think someone that's 5'10", 195, he's not a massive dude, he's going to suddenly just get 85, 90% of the workload. Rashad White is still going to be very effective, and on only 250 touches last year, Bucky Irving still had 8 touchdowns. I just don't think that he's going to suddenly jump up 7 spots. And an early third round, like the 302, an early third round draft price, when you've got guys like AJ Brown, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Breece Hall, Kyron Williams in the 4th, all those guys I want over Bucky Irving.
This one's a tough one for me to swallow. I'll be honest. I'm definitely a Bucky boy. I think when the season comes out, I'll have a T-shirt. Just Bucky fan club all over it. But if
roll with Bucky boy,
yeah, Bucky boy. But if we can kind of remove that away from it and purely just look at the numbers and look at the value, he's going at running back 8 here. So this is probably going to be where his ceiling is going to be. I can't really. Probably running back 6 is probably the highest that I could probably see Bucky going. But again, there's better values later on. And, early in the 3rd round, yeah, it's a hard pill to swallow. So it'll be interesting one to pan out. But yeah, Bucky, oh man, Bucky just makes me, I'll leave it at that. But Mav, who do you have in the 3rd round, mate?
Look, I was looking at Jackson Smith and Jigba for mine, to be honest with you. And I really like him. I really, really like him. But there's been a lot of changes to Seattle over the last sort of 3 to 4 months. Now, not questioning his ability. Ability is fantastic, right? But he's got a QB change. He's got another weapon in the house. And he's got coaching changes, right? 3 no-nos for me. That's 3 big movements for me that I go, shit, he could bust. So there's already concern about Sam Darnold and his big contract coming into the house. So if that's the case and Sam Darnold sort of shits the bed, that means Smith and Jigba is also going to shit the bed too. He's going to get best corner as well now. As well, he probably did end of last year anyway. He probably outplayed DK Metcalf, but now it's undisputed to get the best corner every single week as well to go with it. So let's see what Smith and Jigba's all about. He finishes as a wide receiver 10 last year, so massive improvement in his 2nd year. But I've just got massive concerns. I'll look at someone like Lad McConkey on the list there, who has, obviously in his rookie year, but has the same QB, has the same system going into the year. So you sort of know that the chemistry is already there. There's continuity there. There is no continuity between Jackson Smith and Jigba and what he's got now with Sam Darnold. So there's always concerns there, my friend. Always concerns that there could always be just a bust.
For sure.
And, very quickly, I just want to ask very quickly before we move on that one. Purely looking at that, Jackson Smith and Jigba and Garrett Wilson basically have the exact same situation. It's a bit of uncertainty and stuff like that. Who are you taking? If you had to choose between those guys being basically right next to each other in ADP?
Look, talent-wise, it's Smith and Jigba. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but don't forget, Garrett Wilson had that connection with Justin Fields in college. So it's not like they haven't played together. And look, all reports are they're already sort of connecting through training camp and OTAs and stuff like that. So the hype is real over there. So they already have that connection. They already know how they play. So I think that gets a little bit of a pass mark over someone who's like Sam Darnold. But there's always risk with Garrett Wilson though as well, man. He's been a bit of a bust for fantasy football for the majority of his fantasy career. So there is concerns for Garrett Wilson. But I probably have a bit more faith in Garrett Wilson at the moment than I do in Smith and Jigba.
Yeah, I'm on that side too. And I think we've seen what Justin Fields has done with a number 1 wideout with DJ Moore that first year that he was at the Bears. He had the best season ever, just hyper targeted. And I think it could be the same thing with Garrett Wilson in New York because there is nobody else behind him. It's Breece Hall's probably the 2nd best pass catcher on that team, and he's a running back. So.
But in saying that, though, it is a loaded 3rd round there as well. I was looking at a few names going, shit, who am I going to pick? But, mate, they could all be really good. But someone has to fall down. So there's always a few names that fall down. There's a lot of hype in Smith and Jigba coming into this year as well. I mean, yeah, he had a fantastic year. But, again, a lot of changes there for mine.
Yeah, and Seahawks, by all accounts and all reports that are coming out, new offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, he just talks about how much they want to run the ball. So less opportunity for JSN there. I've got a quick one here for round 3. Justin Herbert, I just think the value is a bit too high. He's rated at QB 8 in this round. Same thing with Patty Mahomes. I just think that you can get better value later on. Drake May and Caleb Williams in the next round, which we're going to be coming up to soon. And Herbert, the last 3 years, his highest finish was QB 11 back in 2022. He kind of sniffed that last year, finishing his QB 12, but to draft him at QB8, it's just very wishful thinking. And I think with the addition of Amari and Hampton and Najee Harris, these guys are just going to be running the ball a whole ton in LA. So, but moving on to the 4th round, who we got here? Starting us off with Kyron Williams, Amarion Hampton, Caleb Williams, T. Higgins, James Cook, Chase Brown, Drake May, Rasheed Rice, CJ Stroud, Sam Laporta, Kyler Murray, and George Kittle. DFAB, back to you, mate. Who you got for the 4th?
Probably not a popular opinion because I feel like he's a darling for a lot of people, but Amarion Hampton's my guy. I feel like there's always some rookies that have a lot of hype because they're in great situations and in good, good, well-balanced offenses and all that kind of stuff. Yes, he's the superior talent over Najee. Don't have to ask Mav that. I know that Mav thinks that Najee's basically a doorstop, but he was brought in for a reason. I just think it's too early for Amarion Hampton. He's going to have an early season committee split similar to the RJ Hampton split that we talked about earlier. I think Hampton does take the role and is going to be very effective by, let's say week 10 to week 12 is probably where that split really goes, like a 70-30. But at least early on in the year, again, similar to how I thought about J.K. Dobbins, it wouldn't surprise me to see Najee be the 1A getting the starters carries for the first month of the year.
Yeah, and I think I'm on board with this one. And I know Mav and myself, we were on the Najee train before the Amarion Hampton signing. We were very high on him at the Chargers and very hopeful that they weren't going to spend super high draft capital like they did. I've been hearing some whispers that Najee has already picked up the playbook and the coaches absolutely love him. I know Jim Harbaugh, head coach for the Chargers, he had connections with him trying to get him back in college, trying to recruit him to Michigan. So I think it could, definitely be a bit of a slower start for Hampton. Yeah, and like you said, DFAB probably later on the year after the bye, they might start to use him a little bit more. But Najee doesn't get injured. He's going to be there week in, week out, taking away touches and probably goal line stuff as well in that offense. So yeah, I like that. Like that take there. I'll jump in here quickly with another running back in this round. To me, this one just stood out like a sore thumb, and Mav's probably on the same page with me here. James Cook in the 4th round. The vibes during the offseason with James Cook have just been so sour. I mean, good to see that he's arrived to minicamp, but I can't really see them getting a deal done anywhere close to what he's asking. And with the running back room there, Ray Davis, I think he's more than capable, and I think he's going to get a lot more opportunity this year in that offense. And James Cook, just a huge touchdown regression candidate. He had 16 rushing and 2 passing touchdowns last year. Just not sustainable. And again, I just think in the 4th round, pivot into a different position. I know for me, I'm taking quarterback in this round, like Drake May and Caleb Williams. Can't get enough of Drake May in round 4, but yeah, I just think James Cook is just overrated in this spot. But what do you think, Mav? Who's your guy here in the 4th?
Mate, this one, if you're talking about sore thumbs, this was just the easy one, my friend. This was very easy for me. Sam Laporta at this pick is just average option for mine. He finished the tight end 7 last year. The personnel at the Detroit Lions hasn't really changed. Offensive line has slightly changed. I think they had, who was at the center retired.
Yep.
But that means if that's the case, the offensive line's got a bit more average, then maybe Laporta might have to block a bit more on the line. But at the same time, tight end 7, there's a guy there who went 2 picks under him, who's a better pick, George Kittle.
Yeah.
So George Kittle he's probably the number 1 option at the moment at the Niners, who's a much better pick than Sam Laporta. I mean, you still have Gibbs and Monty. Monty last year was banged up for the second half of the year. He was in and out of the lineup. So if he's in the lineup, again, that hurts Sam Laporta. And Sam Laporta last year was very touchdown dependent too. So, his good fantasy scores came off, touchdowns. And what did he get? Like, there was a lot of games there, especially at the start of the year, between 2 and 5 targets for the game. He did get more as the season progressed, but that was also because, Jamison Williams wasn't healthy and Monty wasn't healthy as well. So, that was a very, very simple pick for me. And as I said, Kittle all the way over Sam Laporta.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think this is definitely a triple banger with that one and Sam Laporta. Yeah. Kittle's there, finishes the tight end 3 last year and he missed a couple of games. And Laporta's just his 4th option, probably behind Amon-Ra, Jamison, and Gibbs there as well. Maybe even fifth behind Monty. So yeah, if you're drafting a tight end this early, you want to hope that he's either the first or the second option on that offense to give you some consistency at this spot. But we'll jump on to the fifth, starting off with Terry McLaurin, Tetaroa, McMillan, Tyreek Hill, Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, Trevion Henderson, Kenneth Walker, Joe Mixon, Mike Evans, Jordan Love, Alvin Kamara, and Chuba Hubbard. I'll actually start us off here for this one, just to segue on Mavs player back in the fourth round. For me here, it's Jared Goff. Yeah, just don't love the spot. As we've kind of progressed through these first 5 rounds already, there's definitely better rounds where you can target the quarterback position. I think Jared Goff, a lot of uncertainty. I think in Detroit, losing Frank Ragnow, their center, I think that's a big loss. I know they drafted someone in this draft on either the second or the third round, but that's definitely huge shoes to fill, especially at the gate. And Jared Goff last year threw for the most touchdowns in his career, threw for 37. His next best was back in 2018 when he threw for 32. So again, I just think that there's regression coming. I think with Ben Johnson not being there, they might try and lean on the run a little bit more, but with the center retiring might be a bit of a murky situation. And I just don't think Goff is going to be, I think he's going to be a loser when it comes to those moves. But DFAB, who did you have here in the fifth?
I'll just quickly let you know, you should scroll the page down for all of our beautiful viewers so they can see what we're looking at. Fifth round, it felt gross saying, but Joe Mixon's the guy for me. I'm so torn in that I feel like as a fifth round pick, there's actually some value in picking Mixon here, because if all goes well, he is going to have those weeks where he goes top 12, I think, like for that individual week. So I think he's in some ways, if you look at it in a certain way, he's a value. But overall, from like a season overview, like the touch volume might be there, probably not so much now with Nick Chubb coming through. He's inefficient, he's aging. Nico's going to be healthy. They're very clearly a pass-first offense. I think they're going to lean committee and be a little bit more pass-heavy than they were last year. I think they were required to lean on Mixon as much as they were because Nico was out and Tank was out. Last year, he had 6 top 5 finishes at running back last year, mostly at the front end of the year. That boosts his value quite a lot. I don't think he's going to be as impactful. But again, that being said, he's not a take him off your draft list. I think there's still a little bit of value there. But at that price, with guys behind him like Alvin Kamara, Chuba Hubbard, even Quinshon Judkins, I prefer to take the dice roll on those guys over having Joe Mixon.
Yeah, look, and I'm surprised he's actually this high in the fifth. Especially after the playoff, his playoff performances last year just absolutely cooked you. Weeks 15 through 17, 10.6, 8.10, and then 5.9 in the playoff final if you made it there. If you made it there with Mixon and you played him, you definitely didn't come away a winner with that one. So and with Nick Chubb there as well, added competition for Mixon. Mav, who'd you have here in the fifth, mate?
I had Joe Mixon as well. Look, as DFAB said, he had actually a monster year between the weeks of 6 to 11. So he went 27.2, 26.4, 24.4, 16.6, 17, and 35.3. That were his 5 good weeks of the year. Outside of that, and maybe week 1, it was fairly dead set average. Yes, he's getting older. Injuries have never been on his strong suit as well. He's getting a bit older, aging in terms of ability to stay on the park. As I said, it's now a bit of a crowded house. I mean, if he's losing his touchdown ability with Nick Chubb in the house, let's say Nick Chubb gets his the goal line carries, then how much do we really like Joe Mixon? I mean, he'll get volume through the between the 20s, but again, those massive weeks that he had between weeks 6 and 11, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 touchdowns in that time. So you take those, you halve those touchdowns, and he finishes a bang average running back. And he's probably drafted to be around that point. But again, if he's losing his touchdown ability, I'm not really too interested.
Yeah, and looking at this fifth round, would you both take Alvin Kamara over Joe Mixon in this spot? Yeah. There you go. And he's got a couple.
Again, no QB there at New Orleans.
Yeah.
It's just going to be feed Kamara all day. Dump off City, feed Kamara.
Yeah. No, I agree. So we'll jump in here to the 6th after that, and we've got DJ Moore, Devonta Smith, Travis Hunter, Dak Prescott, Quinshon Judkins, Xavier Worthy, Devontae Adams, RJ Harvey, Trevor Lawrence, Rome Odunze, JJ McCarthy, and TJ Hawkinson. Now for the 6th round, I'll flick it over to you, DFAB, because we've got the same guy here in TJ Hawkinson. I know for me, again, I'm just not too. I guess the quarterback situation is just a big question mark with JJ McCarthy. I mean, I love JJ McCarthy. I think he's going to have a good year, but this is still going to be his first year. Hasn't taken a snap in the NFL yet. I don't think he's going to be throwing as many touchdowns. And I think that Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison are definitely the clear targets above Hawk in this position. So I'm just kind of steering clear with this one. But why did you have TJ Hawkinson as your worst value pick in the 6th?
Yeah, mate, couldn't agree with you more. Kind of to echo your sentiment, the QB situation. I think JJ McCarthy is going to be solid. I think there's going to be those rookie teething problems that there is for most QBs. But the main thing for me is he's turning 28 this year. I'm hesitant to trust QBs at all, let alone one with a rookie QB after not playing the entirety of the previous year. But if I also look at purely from a value standpoint, if I scroll down after Hawkinson goes, you've got Tyler Warren available, you've got Travis Kelce available, you've got Mark Andrews available, you've got Jonnu Smith available, all those guys, Colson Loveland available, all those guys I'm taking over TJ, and there's 2, 3, sometimes 4 rounds back. I'm just not willing to pay that price 2, 3 rounds early for a guy that has that many question marks.
Yeah, definitely keep playing the value game. If you guys take anything away from this show tonight, it's all about the values. If you can get someone that you project better a couple of rounds later, just don't take him in that spot. Just wait. Take a different position.
On that, just to very quickly back that as well, something that can be very hard to do on your draft day. If you see him sitting there, don't be tempted by that, but his ADP so high. Back the research that you've done and leave him. Let someone else take the fool's gold. Just if you don't believe he's going to be the big guy, even if you don't believe in him and you're in the middle of the 8th, doesn't matter. If you don't think he's your guy, just don't take him. Don't get drawn in.
Trust your gut, for sure.
Trust your gut.
Mav, 7th round pick, mate.
Good shout on TJ Hawkinson. Again, we don't really know if JJ McCarthy can support multiple options. He's got Addison, JJ. Probably rude to say JJ second, but anyway. And obviously Aaron Jones in the house too. So we're really not too sure what that's going to look like in the big picture. But for me, it was Xavier Worthy. Top of the show. I wasn't really too high on Mahomes. But he's a bit of a gadget player, Xavier Worthy. I don't really know if they actually draw up plays for him and set plays for him that aren't just him in motion or him getting a carry, like a jet sweep as such. Like especially early in the year when he had his production, he had like 4 targets in that game. He had 2 touchdowns, had 4 targets. So I'd have to see a lot of a large target share to be very, very interested. I'm happy to be wrong on Xavier Worthy. But again, I just haven't seen plays drawn up for him. And, Rashee Rice, coming off a knee, but we expect him to take the majority of the target share with Kelce, we expect. But I'm not confident that Xavier Worthy is the answer for this round. I mean, upside, sure. But I don't know, gun to the head, mate. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, no, I agree with Xavier Worthy, and we saw him produce when Rashee Rice wasn't there, and he was in Rashee Rice's role. So when Rashee Rice comes back, I think we can all agree that we prefer Rice in that role better. So what 100%. Does kind of Xavier Worthy do? They want that connection with Patty Mahomes and those deep shots. They definitely left a lot out there on the table, but if that doesn't kind of get cleaned up, well then, what kind of value is he going to have in 2025?
Guys,
Yep, for sure. We'll jump over to the 7th round now, starting us off with Zay Flowers, DK Metcalf, Justin Fields, David Montgomery, George Pickens, James Conner, Caleb Johnson, Jamison Williams, Chris Olave, Michael Penix Jr., Cortland Sutton, and Jordan Addison. And again, for me, I'm just going to take the easier way out. DFAB, we had the same one here on the list, mate. So I'm going to kick it over to you.
For sure, man. It's Chris Olave for me. Not to say I don't believe in the talent of the guy, but there's 5 documented concussions. Like, people talk about Tua, about how he's, he's glass and he's a strong wind away from being knocked out for the rest of his career. Chris Olave is probably more fragile. Like, it sucks, but the man just cannot not get hit in the head. He's gonna have Tyler. Is it Shao? I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Shuck.
Shuck. Oh, there's not even a C or a K. What's he talking about? But yeah, Tyler Shuck passing to him. You can already see the hospital ball across the middle where Chris Olave gets hit and he's out for the rest of the year. Even in the 6 full games that Olave played last year, he averaged 5 catches for 65 yards a game. Only had 1 touchdown in those games, and that was with a much better QB than they're going to have this year. He's a stay away, and he's completely off my draft board. I'm not taking him. Gun to my head, couldn't do it.
Yeah, and it's a bit sad for Olave because I know leading into the season, if Derek Carr was there, I probably would, at this price, definitely invested in Chris Olave. But with the likes of Tyler Shuck, we've seen Jake Hayner and Spencer Rattler. It's going to be a shit show. Those guys are definitely going to be playing for the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 draft and just re-rolling that QB position. Mav, what did you have in the 7th?
Mate, I had the same. I'm looking at this this list, and I actually like a lot of value there, to be honest. There's a few guys that I actually really like, but we're doing the opposite here tonight. So I have to go with Olave as well. I just have to. I mean, Shuck is a terrible, terrible QB. He throws pies. We might get some vision. We're going to the LA Rams fan event, and it's a bit of a draft combine. So I reckon I might be able to outperform Shuck if he's there. He won't be, but I
already know I could.
he throws genuine pies. He was overdrafted in his draft class. He should never have gone 2nd round. And as DFAB said, I can see the hospital ball. And again, if he doesn't perform, then the backups just suck even worse. We saw it last year. They just had no momentum at all with the offense. There was nothing moving at all. Shuck should be an improvement on that. But Olave, as DFAB said, 5 concussions now. It's concerning. And he'll play concerned too. He'll probably play a bit fragile. It'll be in the back of his mind. He has 1 more concussion. He could be out of the league. It'll be in the back of his mind. So I'm nervous about Shuck. I'm nervous about the whole Saints offense, probably outside of Kamara. There's probably not a lot there that I really, really like. So unfortunately, Olave, if he had a good QB, if Derek Carr was still there, I would have gone, Olave actually might be value. But at this point, he's just not with Shuck. He's such a bad QB.
Avoid terrible. Yep, Shuck sucks. Avoid terrible quarterback situations. It just doesn't ever plan out well. For the 8th round, our second last round for the evening, we'll start off with Tyler Warren, Cam Ward, Jalen Waddle, Isaiah Pacheco, Bryce Young, Travis Kelce, Jerry Jeudy, Mark Andrews, DeAndre Swift, Tua Tagovailoa, Chris Godwin, and Aaron Jones. I'll jump in here first. For me, it's just Cam Ward. I just think he's a rookie QB. The offense has got a long ways to go. He doesn't have a whole lot of weapons. I mean, a 30-year-old Calvin Ridley is going to be his number 1 guy. They didn't really add too much in the wide receiving room during the draft. I think a couple of 4th-round picks and an undrafted free agent they signed for Cam Ward. And I just think this team, Tennessee as a whole, they're going to be the worst in their division. I think they're going to be trying to funnel a lot of the work through Tyjae Spears and Tony Pollard if they can, just to try and take a bit away from Cam Ward. Looking at the 8th round, I'd much rather take Matt Stafford or Geno Smith in round 9. And so for me, again, sticking with the value train, if you can get a quarterback that in your eyes you project to perform better for fantasy than these guys, but around after, just wait, take a different position and kind of roll with that. But moving on, DFAB, who do you have here in the 8th?
I'm going to call an audible here. I've got two, because two for me, there's two guys that were really kind of head and shoulders above the rest in terms of guys that I want to avoid. Number one, Travis Kelce. We've kind of already spoken about him. He's turning 35 this year, showed a lot of decline last year. He got a lot of target competition with a returning Rice, who was probably the main culprit for all of the, has Kelce lost it, because he had such a quiet start to the year when Rice was there last. Hollywood Brown should come in healthy. Xavier Worthy, they've got a lot more mouths to feed. So I think Kelce's going to have a much harder time being that bell cow. And because he is so old, it wouldn't surprise me if he's on some sort of an informal snap count just to try to help him last towards the back end of the year, knowing that it's likely, if not his second last year. Outside of him, though, probably an out-of-pocket one, Aaron Jones is the guy I'm avoiding. He's currently being drafted as the RB22. I don't even think he's going to be started by the time that the season comes along. He might get the starters. Run purely from he's the veteran, he's the bigger body, give him a chance kind of thing. But I think Jordan Mason coming in, currently being drafted as the RB40, massive value, huge sleeper. I think he's the one that's much more dynamic on that squad. He fits the age profile of that team, and that makes spending an 8th round pick on Aaron Jones makes that really, really scary for me.
What do you think about that, Mav?
Yeah, Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason as well in the house. So, Jordan Mason's widely regarded as a bit of a steal as well for the Vikings. So, if that goes into a committee, then that already hurts Aaron Jones. And, it could be a 60-40 split, could be a 70-30 split at Mason's way. We don't know. He had a really good year last year when he had to fill in. So, again, more than capable of having the starting work if necessary. But for me, it was actually Mark Andrews was just the obvious one. He didn't really get going at all last season. Probably got going late and then had that touchdown drop in the playoffs to cost Baltimore to go through. But realistically, it was a pretty grim year for Mark Andrews as a whole. He finishes as the tight end 5, but it really, you would never have guessed that based off the year that he had. And also, I actually don't even know if he's a tight end 1. I think Isaiah Likely might take that next level to his game, and Mark Andrews might be not so much a backup, but they might play more 2 tight end sets, which they always sort of do. But it's going to be Isaiah Likely taking that next step up in his career and being that tight end 1 that they desperately need. And Mark Andrews, I think he's going to his last year of his contract this year, so there's murky waters for him if he stays or goes. Yeah, there's just a lot of uncertainty behind Mark Andrews for mine.
Yeah, and it sounds like with this tight end room at Baltimore, a bit of the changing of the guard. There's been a whole heap of reports that Ravens are looking to extend Isaiah Likely, and on the other side, Mark Andrews has just got no love in regards to a contract extension. It's definitely lining up to be his last year in Baltimore. So interesting one to see how that works. I know Lamar absolutely loves Mark Andrews, and they're boys. He always wants to look out for him. But yeah, I'm on the same page as you, Mav. I think it could be Isaiah Likely season for the Ravens. We'll jump into the last round of the night. I'll just twist down here. I'm not too sure what's happening with this site, but starting off at the 9-1, Jonnu Smith, Matt Stafford, Tony Pollard, Tyrone Tracy Jr., Brian Robinson Jr., Colson Loveland, Calvin Ridley, Sam Darnold, Brandon Ayuk, Geno Smith, Travis Etienne, and Ricky Pearsall. And DFAB, we'll start off with you for the last round.
Easy, mate. For me, this was really easy. There's actually a bit of value in this round. I don't mind the 9th round here. The big, I guess the glaring option here was Travis Etienne. Had a super disappointing year where Tank Bigsby really kind of showed, at least on the ground, he kind of ran away with it. No pun intended. Travis Etienne coming into this year after disappointing last year has to compete with Tank and then Bashal Tootin as well. And probably the biggest thing that goes against Etienne, he has zero allegiance from Liam Cohen. Liam Cohen's going to come in. He's despite what you think about his Duval impressions, he's supposed, looks to be at least some sort of a competent offensive mind. And you can only assume he's going to some point want to either ride the hot hand from the back end of last year or give it to the young guy and see what they've got in Tooten. So I think Travis Etienne's probably, unless he has a preseason to blow people away, he's got some concerns for mine, at least right now.
Yeah, Travis Etienne. Honestly, a couple of weeks ago, DFAB, I think I might have been with you on this one, mate, but I don't know what's happening. I've been hearing a few stories of Bayshell Tooten, the fumbles in camp, even though it's very early in camp. And Liam Cohen, he's spoken out about Travis Etienne, I've heard, and that he's just doing everything that they ask him for. He looks healthy. He looks good to go. I actually traded for him in a couple of dynasty leagues for absolute dirt cheap. Cost me absolutely nothing. So if he fails, and from what you're saying, DFAB, I don't really care. It didn't cost me anything, but I mean, contract year, last year of his deal, he could be a little bit of a sleeper. I'm kind of on that side of the fence, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
And you know what? To your credit, it's definitely inside the range of outcomes for him to succeed. Funnily enough, I almost think to a point the contract year stuff can be of detriment to guys, especially coming off a bad year, because it leaves them less likely to get that opportunity to really show themselves, I think. Because as much as we wouldn't want to admit it, the NFL is a business and they're going to maybe see what they can get out of a guaranteed rookie deal before they give it to a guy who's about to go out of contract. And if he does somehow show that he's good, start holding out, causing headaches, trying to get as much money as he can. So it probably throws a little bit more confusion into the mix, which probably helps me say that he's someone I want to avoid. But you're right. It's definitely inside the range of outcomes for him to really step up and prove himself to Liam Cohen and get himself some opportunity. And if he does get that at a very late 9th round pick, he becomes a steal.
Mav?
Travis Etienne could be extreme value or a massive bust.
Yeah, he can. Proper coin flip.
Matt Carmody here in the chat. And shout out to you, Matt Carmody. He's always been a big fan of this show. It is one of the toughest rooms to predict right now.
Big time.
You've got 3 solid options. I don't know what they're going to do. It is one to watch. But for mine, it was Tyrone Tracy. Really, really solid year last year. But now with Cam Scatterbo in the house, what's his role? Does he play wide receiver? Does he play in the slot? Does he play running back? Is he a change of pace running back? The role has been unknown. They still have, I've gone blank, but they still have
Devin Singletary
as well. So that also makes me think that, Tyrone Tracy might be in the slot. And look, he played his college career through the slot, so it's not like it's an awful decision.
It's not foreign to him.
But yeah, for fantasy, it could be. Cam Scatterbo's that bruiser between the tackles, red zone option. He's a really, really going to be a nice fit for the Giants there. But that just, unfortunately, it just hurts Tyrone Tracy. Now, I can't even see Cam Scatterbo in this list. I don't think we've seen him yet. So at this current point in time, Cam Scatterbo is getting drafted below Tyrone Tracy, which is, I think, is criminal.
Yeah,
I'm the same. Tyrone Tracy was my guy here too. I thought it was a very clear spot in the 9th round. He's just definitely the odd guy out. I think the fumbles in key games last year definitely hurt his stock. And Cam Scatterbo, oh baby, I think he could be the Bucky for this year.
Honestly, we're going to call him the Cam Scatter Goat.
Yeah.
He's going at the 10-10 for the record.
Oh, okay. So
round
later.
Literally a round later.
Below Tyrone Tracy is a little bit criminal for mine. I've actually got him above Tyrone Tracy. So
in my eyes, why are you drafting the backup before the main piece in Cam Scatterbo? So that's definitely a clear one. And Tyrone Tracy, like you mentioned, Mav, he was a wide receiver throughout most of his college years. So if he's losing valuable touches this offseason to Cam Scatterbo at the running back position, it's going to say it all. And I've seen clips too of Brian Dable in the draft room when they drafted Cam Scatterbo. He was through the roof. Just so pumped to get those guys added in, and he can do it all.
He was a steal at that pick in the draft. Steal. Should never have gone for into day 3, 4th round, I think it was, wasn't it? It's a steal.
Yeah.
I
I will
agree.
say this though, I'd much rather have a Tyrone Tracy than I would a Javonte. Wouldn't you agree, Mav?
Just easy up there, mate. Ease up. Devontae he's going to have a bounce back, my friend. He's going to dominate the Cowboys.
Yeah, you're right. He had a tough year after the number 1 O-line in the NFL last year. It was a really hard office to work in.
We'll show you how to use it properly.
Please show me.
That's great. But guys, that'll wrap us up here for our worst value picks in redraft coming up. Now, again, we are in June. We're still months away from season start, so this redraft ADP is definitely going to change from now until then. But if you're a part of those absolute sicko group that is doing redrafts at the moment, and just completely gambling on risk and all the injuries that could happen leading up to that point, hopefully you've gained some insight from here. And if you steer clear of these values and look to pivot, I think we all think it'll definitely help improve your outcome for the 2025 fantasy season. But before we sign off, Mav, I'll go to you first, mate. Any final thoughts on this show tonight and these worst values of each round?
Yeah, no, it was a really good show, my friend. I really enjoyed that one. It's always a good one. We'll do a Fool's Gold episode when the season comes closer to the day, which probably won't be for round, but just general Fool's Gold. I love Fool's Gold. It's such good fun. I do it for the NBL when I fill in for the NBL, and it's so fun doing Fool's Gold, and gets a lot of chatter around too because generally people want to avoid those players. So outside of that, my friend, we're trying to I'm in talks with someone at the moment for an episode next week. Would be a pretty big one if we can get this one over the line. It'd be very, very insightful for the community. So I'll keep my lips shut on that one. Just keep an eye on socials if we can get this one done. So hopefully this one works out. But outside of that, man, I had a blast having the 3 amigos back in. It was great fun, and look forward to for the time ahead. And again, I'm just looking forward to draft season. Even just having a look at that is just tickling my balls a little bit, and getting that going.
DFAB, mate, closing thoughts.
Look, to anyone that takes the unders on every player that I just mentioned as guys to avoid, and you win thousands of dollars at the back end of the year, I'll take my 10% commission. I'll leave my PayPal in the comments. But no, I'm just excited, mate, with the fact that we can talk draft and really, really talk draft and it be somewhat relevant now. Granted, it's too early. It's just exciting. I'm really, really keen, especially for the next month. Because before you know it, 2 or 3 more episodes. One of them, as Mav said, looks like it could be a really, really cool one. And then we've got Mav and I are going to be posting from the LA Rams draft combine fan activation next Sunday. So everyone keep an eye on socials. That should be good fun. Unfortunately, we couldn't get Mullin down from the north to join us, but we'll hopefully have some fun there. We might have to do some slap bets or something, Mav, to see who can outperform each other in the little draft combine drills. But yeah, before we know it, we're going to be 50 days out from the year, and it's really going to be draft season time. So I'm excited. This is arguably the most fun time of the year. That anticipation for round 1, I couldn't be happier.
It's a great time to be an NFL fantasy fan, and it's just going to keep ramping up the closer and closer we get. And to anybody who else is going to be at the LA Rams media event next Sunday down in Melbourne, if you want to see Mav and DFAB with pads on and cleats running up routes and taking on defenders, go there. They'll be here. They'll be more than happy to have a chat anything NFL. But before we close out, guys, thanks heaps for tuning in. If you can like this video on whichever platform you're watching, a nice 5-star review, we really do appreciate it, and it really is the best way to support us here on the podcast, and it's free, which is even better. If you want to get even deeper and even dirtier in the trenches, our Patreon is free for NFL content. We're going to be releasing rookie rankings shortly, following by our dynasty and redraft rankings over the next couple of months. So definitely something to look out on. And also for all our upcoming mock draft episodes, we're gonna be asking and encouraging you guys to jump in on that, and it's going to be exclusively for at Patreon members. So if you want to be a part of that, make sure you join that. The link is in the description below. Like always, we'll be back next week. Thanks here for tuning in. That's us here from the Insight NFL podcast. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.